So many of you have reached out to me trying to work on your marriage after infidelity. And the question always comes up, how long does it take to get over this? How long does it take to start feeling like you can trust your partner again? How long does it take till I won't be triggered again? And the answer to how long depends. It's extremely individual, but I'm going to give you some guideline markers that I think are important for you when you're talking to a therapist or you're talking to your partner about the option. Should we try and work this out, or is the marriage just too far gone? The first thing is healing is gradual. It won't happen all at once. It's not going to be 6 months to a year after you go, man, I think I'm cured. I think I'm over this. It's interesting. It comes back. It goes in ebbs and flows, and it'll get better for a while, and then you'll have something that just you hear, you smell, you think, and all of a sudden it's right back like it just happened. So if you're in that space, just know that is part of the healing process. It is normal that you have that. It doesn't mean you're not healing. It doesn't mean it's a step backward. It simply means it's part of the process. So here's what a therapist takes into account: the duration of the affair. The longer the affair was going on, of course, the more severe it was, the worse it was. I have had couples that have had an affair for 20 years of their life. If you think you'll ever fully be able to let that go as the partner of that spouse who had that affair, I'm telling you that will be a long time. There will always be that question in the back of your mind. Could they do this? Why did they choose this person? It's obvious they loved that person. Knowledge of the affair. When did you find out? How did you find out? Was it an accident, or did your partner just come up and tell you? When you asked them, did they respond yes? The more honesty there was at the point of you knowing about the affair, the more easily you'll be able to trust again. The more easily you'll be able to say, I saw it, I could tell, and you won't be fooled, and that will give you some comfort. If you had no idea and your partner lied all the time, then it's going to be difficult for you to really trust them again, because they're going to say things like, I promise, you can trust me. But if they said those things before, you can see where the issue is. How do you know this time it's okay? The state of the marriage. And I tell every partner, if you got together, if you had an affair, if your partner had an affair during a very unstable time of the marriage, then if you guys choose to make the marriage work, you understand you will start over. Like basically the marriage was already troubled, was already unstable. One partner cheated, they made a bad choice. Instead of telling you, you know what, I think the marriage is over, I can't continue like this, they just cheated. And so the problem is, if you want to try and work it out, it's going to be something you have to contemplate. Like, wait a minute, the marriage was bad before this happened. Now, am I really going to let this all go and then start over with this person? There's not a lot holding it together. So obviously, the worse the marriage was, the condition of the marriage before the cheating has a lot to say about whether you'll be able to work it out. If a couple has children, I always recommend you try to make it work. And the reason is because divorce is hard on kids. Separating is hard on kids. I'm not saying kids can't do it, but they will carry some of that mistrust, even if they don't know at this age, and they shouldn't. When they get older and they hear the truth, it will resonate with them, and they'll understand this is hard. And we have enough statistics now to know that divorces run in the families, and they do. And it's not because parents necessarily told them, it's because a parent, once they divorce, it kind of crushes that idea for a kid that, you know, love is forever. They haven't seen love work out with the main people they loved who brought them into the world. So why would it for them? Anything is possible. You can work through it, but the statistics are on the side of being really extra cautious about ending the marriage no matter what, unless there's abuse. That's a perfect reason to end it. So now I want to talk about how you'll know if the progress you're making in therapy is actually working. Because I have a lot of couples who say things like, we were in therapy for 3 years after the first cheating, and I still don't trust them. So let's just go through this. The unfaithful partner will take responsibility. When the unfaithful partner is remorseful and takes responsibility, that's a big check mark for that this can work out. The less personal emotional turmoil. When both partners can say, I think about it less, I feel less triggered when I think about it, that's another check mark. That means this is on the road to some sort of recovery. I don't want to get your hopes up real high, but at the same time, I want you to know this is a good, positive sign. Spouses can speak about the affair with fewer arguments. So now when the affair is brought up, there's less contempt. There's less anger, there's less hostility. It still hurts, but there's just less. It's a little bit minimized. Another check mark. That's a good sign. That's a sign that it's getting healthier, that the marriage is starting to stabilize again. Looking forward to a better relationship. This is what happens when both partners say, you know what, we had some broken boundaries in our first marriage, our first part of marriage. And I'm really excited about working to tighten those, to maybe put up a higher fence in those areas. Because now you kind of know where the areas of possible sabotage are. And once you know that, that should empower a couple to do better with boundaries, keeping the marriage sacred. Remember, it's up to both of you to put those boundaries up and keep it sacred, prioritized between the two of you. And lastly, there's a recovery outcome. Like the more you get closer to actually recovering, you need therapy less. You start feeling like you're working as a team. When you have conflict, you're no longer blaming each other. You're no longer going back to the affair. You're no longer punishing your partner. All of these are really good signs. Is therapy ever over after infidelity or an affair? Yes. You don't have to stay in therapy for the rest of your marriage. You shouldn't. But it is important to stabilize the marriage and get it back on track so the couple feels like they can talk about things, anything, out in the open, and they're actually prioritizing and taking time to do that. If this video is helpful for you, please subscribe. And if you're already a subscriber, I want to thank you so much.